All right, guys, we are back in my garage for another video, and today we are going over day 2 of the first time I took my 340i to a road course. If you guys haven't seen part 1 already, check that one out. It was a nice, methodical process throughout the day so that I was able to test the car from completely stock to a tune, stage 1 tune with a couple upgrades to really try to see what helps the car get faster and what is really needed in order to bring your car to the track. So check that one out if you haven't already. In this video, we're going to be going over day 2 where the weather was not cooperating very well, but it was still a really good learning experience and the car performed great. I was actually able to lap a couple people and really push the limits of the car, even though the conditions weren't optimal. So again, just a newfound respect for the car and how well it handles even in mostly stock form. But yeah, we're just going to kind of go through the day and show you guys how it all went, and hopefully you guys enjoy.
Now, as always, for everybody that's new to the channel, I create these videos to help keep you updated on the latest developments in our community, as well as discuss technical topics so that we have a better understanding of how our engines work. So if you're interested in more videos like that, be sure to subscribe because there will be a lot more coming out in the future. Alright, we are back for day 2, and unfortunately, as you can tell, it is raining pretty bad. I'm not sure how much time we're actually going to get on the track. I'm hoping we still get a couple sessions because my goal is really to test out the car and practice driving the wet line, which is something that I learned a couple years ago when I was doing another track day. And this is, again, a good place that has not a lot of crazy camber drop-offs or anything, so it's a good place to learn that kind of stuff and practice your skills. So I'm hoping that we get a couple sessions out today if it's not actually thunderstorming or anything and it's safe enough, and maybe things will dry up later in the day and we can get some more sessions and see if I can get some more time out with the stage 1 tune, because yesterday, a little disappointing, but it kind of is what it is. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get this started. I think we got our drivers meeting soon. We're actually going to go do a track walk as well, so I'll post some footage of that, and then hopefully we can get out on the track and do some actual driving. So let's see.
Stay out. Get out here to the left hand and hold it. Tell yourself to wait. 7 is the easiest.
just got done with our first session, and it was great. I mean, driving in the rain is always a good learning experience, especially trying to feel the dynamics of the car. Everything is a little more slippery, so you've got to pay attention a little bit more. I had a couple, sketchy scenarios. Hopefully I was able to find those and, cut them up, and so you could see those clips. And I also learned going down the front straight, if I go above 100, it starts moving a little bit. And I think the rain is starting to come down a little harder now than it was at the beginning of the session, so I kind of started backing off. But the acceleration grip in a straight line was pretty good for it being in the rain. Even though I have the stage 1 tune on here, I was able to, keep the throttle in check. And the brakes were really, really consistent. I didn't expect that at all. But, I kept testing the braking zone, especially down the front straight, just to make sure out of the highest speed braking zone on the track that I wasn't going to blow through it. And it was flawless, man. It bit really, really hard. I think I only had the ABS kick in once, but generally speaking, it worked really, really good. So I'm hoping we get another session. I'm hoping the rain doesn't get any heavier. If anything, it gets lighter. But I enjoy driving in the wet. It really teaches you a lot about the car. It forces you to really be on top of your inputs and pay attention to the driving dynamics. It's also funny because where I almost spun out in turn 7, I actually spun out in my Jetta, 4 or 5 years ago. And it's just awesome because this car is so much easier to control because I can control the rear wheels. And when I started to spin, I was able to, use my throttle input and turn the wheel. Nobody was around me, so I didn't really have much to worry about. But yeah, it was just nice to know that I could keep it all together. In my Jetta, once the rear wheels lost traction, there was no catching it. It just completely spun out, and I did like a 720 and ended up in the grass facing the corner worker, basically. So yeah, it was just really nice to have that extra control and appreciation of the car driving it in the rain. And yeah, I'm hoping we can get another session or 2 in before we leave. We might end up leaving early just because, there's not going to be a whole lot to salvage from the day, but I want to learn as much as possible. So we'll just keep an eye on the weather, and here's to hoping it gets better and not worse.
All right, guys, so we are headed home. If you can't tell, the weather did get much worse. Luckily, I was able to see it coming, and we kind of got everything swapped on the car, and we are now headed back home. So I swapped my brakes, swapped my tires, and literally within 30 minutes, I was ready for the road trip. Now, I guess we'll do a quick recap of today, because my second session went actually really well. I feel like the car was performing really well, and it was kind of the perfect scenario you would want after a rain delay, or whatever you want to call it. We had 1 or 2 groups run in front of us. One of them was basically the fast group, and those guys kind of helped get all the water off the track. Getting their tires up to temperature and getting the track up to temperature helps make sure that you get as much water off the track so that it's dry and you get a lot more grip. Now, when I went out there, I felt like the car was much more reliable, much more responsive, consistent, but not everybody felt that way. And you can see from some of the footage, I just kept running into traffic and I wasn't able to get a really good, clean run. So it is what it is. It does always feel good to get a lot of point buys and stuff like that. And I wasn't really sure how the car would handle against some of the other ones, but I was getting point buys from turbos and 911s and all sorts of different things. And I think I mentioned that I was practicing driving the wet line, but I don't know if I actually explained what that is. And basically, there's the perfect line that everybody's trying to go down, and this is the line where you're going to hit the fastest times, you're going to nail your apexes, straighten out your turns as much as possible so you can carry a lot of speed. But it's not going to be the same line you want to run when you're in the wet. And the reason is because when you're in the wet, you're going to find that a different area of the track has the most traction. And it's kind of frustrating when you're going through it and you are just really comfortable with consistently driving the right racing line, but you kind of want to come over a car length from that perfect line, because that's where the grip is. Normally, everybody's driving down the exact same lane and the exact same side of the track, and they're wearing it down flat. And when it gets wet, it gets super slick. And so you basically want to drive on the part of the track that most people don't drive on, because that's the part that has the most grip. It has the most kind of grading to it. I mean, just you can actually feel the difference. When we were doing the track walk this morning, you can slide your foot on the regular racing line and it's completely smooth like an ice rink. And then you just go over literally a car length over to one side, and when you push your foot on it, there's way more friction. So that's kind of what I was trying to practice. Again, because you're on automatic timing, a lot of times you just keep driving the racing line without realizing it, but you really have to focus on keeping the car a little bit offline in order to get the most grip and the best performance possible. So it was definitely fun practicing that. So of course that felt good, even though mostly it's dependent on the driver, and that race car driver was still lapping me lap after lap after lap. At that point, the car at least felt like it was performing at or above the median of my group, which is kind of where you're comfortable, So I was really having a lot of fun that last session, but we just kind of saw the weather and decided to play it safe. I've got my wife and kids, driving behind me, so I just want to make sure that we're not driving through a monsoon the whole way home. So it was a good day overall, a great weekend. I can definitely confirm that your car only really needs 2 modifications in order to go to the track. You need brake fluid and you need brake pads. Upgraded performance versions for racing, not just performance street pads, but real race pads. Keep in mind, the race pads are going to be loud, they will squeal, they will create a whole bunch of brake dust, but that's just kind of the trade-off for running a compound in your brake pads that's designed to perform very well. And of course, if you're going to be running an aggressive brake pad, it's a good idea to run an aggressive tire as well, so that way they're paired together and they can, make your car perform consistently and reliably. So yeah, I mean, for me, brake pads and tires are all I really modified, and I was playing with other settings throughout the day. And then of course on the second day I was practicing the wet driving. I just don't want to hear people keep saying their car needs a tune, it needs coilovers, it needs an LSD. All of these things can help your car get faster, but you really don't know what you need until you actually drive your car to see what's lacking and understand what you need to do in order to improve the performance. And especially if it's going to be your first track day, it's not that important to make the car fast. What's most important is to get seat time, feel the car, understand what makes it fast, where it performs well, where it's lacking, and then you can continue your build journey from there. So hopefully you guys found this video useful. I really enjoyed the experience and I plan on coming back. I already have a few ideas for mods that I do want to put on the car in order to make it perform a little bit better. Probably a little more on the rare side, not what most people end up doing. So stick around if you guys are interested in more videos like this. But yeah, I think that's about it for this video. So thank you guys for watching and I hope this helps. And if you have any other questions or comments, leave them down below.